It's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 110, here with my always brilliant and beautiful co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, sir?
Doing excellent. Happy to be back talking fights. How are you, Phil?
Doing well, doing well. We have got a lot to discuss today, Fight Geek. So here's what's on tap, folks. First, we're going to start off with my opening question for Fight Geek. After that, it's a Bellator 264 Mousasi versus Salter recap and review. Then we're jumping into our UFC Vegas 34 Cannonier versus Gastelum preview and picks. And after that, it's my favorite section of all, listener questions and more. So, Fight Geek, let me start off the episode with this. We now have Gegard Mousasi, who has moved to, I believe, 48-7 in his MMA career. An amazing record. What do you think of a potential fight if it took place today between Gegard Mousasi and Israel Adesanya? I asked this on my Twitter. We got some interesting answers, but I want to hear your take on Mousasi versus Adesanya.
Well, it's a great question, man. Obviously, I think that's probably the two best middleweights in the world right now, so it's unfortunate that we're not going to probably get a chance to see it in the near future, but I would still favor Izzy slightly in that fight. You know, he's a little bit younger. He's a little bit, the way he feints and draws out his opponents. I think you see that Gegard can be hit. You know, he's been knocked out before, not that it's common, but even in this last performance, as good as it was, he ate a couple big shots. So
Sure.
I think there would be, over time, opportunities for Izzy to win a decision there. Now, does that mean I think it's a landslide? Not at all. I think you saw the best of Gegard when he gets top pressure and can rain down ground and pound. He's almost like Luke Rockhold in that way. He's just very heavy, hard to get off, and then lands substantial ground and pound. So he'd be live if he could get Izzy to the ground, but I would favor Izzy in a decision. But a great fight. What about you?
Yeah, I hate to agree, but I have to agree. I think it'd be a close fight. I think it'd be a competitive fight. And I think that Mousasi has a real chance if he can take it to the ground consistently. I am a little skeptical of whether Gegard can consecutively and consistently get Israel Adesanya onto the ground and keep him there. So I'm going to take Izzy by a unanimous decision, 3-2. But I think it'd be a very competitive fight, Geek. Very competitive.
Absolutely. And while we're on the subject, we may as well kind of hash out. Do you think, who would you favor between Mousasi and Whitaker right now?
That's a great... That's maybe the best fight at middleweight to make right now.
Absolutely. So,
I'd favor Robert Whitaker. What about you?
Yeah, I would favor Rob very slightly. I mean, that's almost a pick-em in my opinion. But, yeah, I think that's the top three for sure in the world right now. It's just too bad Gegard's over there because I'm not sure he's going to get challenged in that division. And I think he's going to end up going up to 205 and fighting guys he shouldn't be fighting, like potentially a Nemkov, which is not a good matchup for him.
I believe he already said that. I believe he's already said he wants the winner of the light heavyweight tournament.
He's looking for the name fights in Bellator. That's why he's fought Lima and Machida and Rory McDonald. So he's going to chase the biggest fights over there. But as far as his middleweight legacy, it's all left in the UFC right now as far as, long term. But, he's going to end up fighting, no one wants to see him fight someone like Bader, who's a big-time wrestler. I think he mentioned Rumble Johnson, correct? Or
yes, he said that he hopes that Rumble Johnson is the winner of the tournament.
That is really the fight, I guess you'd say, because, Gegard could expose, Rumble's lack of gas tank and probably...
Rumble looked horrible in his first-round fight. He barely won it.
Yeah, he won it with his power, which is what he would carry into a fight against Gegard, but Gegard would have pretty much all the technical advantages. So, I mean, it's an intriguing matchup for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
But I'd rather see him fight, Robert Whitaker at middleweight.
So, while we're on this opening question, you've kind of opened it up here. So, Ariel Helwani had the return of his show earlier this week, and he did interview Israel Adesanya, who was talking about the upcoming Whitaker 2 fight. It's now been delayed until early 2022 due to COVID restrictions. And my question to you is, what kind of odds do you give Robert Whitaker in that rematch? I feel like for the most part, he's very much being discounted. Obviously, Israel had a pretty dominating performance in the first fight, but I think, am I crazy, Fight Geek? If Whitaker can if he can implement some of his wrestling, like he did in, say, the Gastelum fight, and just kind of keep that on Israel's mind, I think he can win this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the same advantages that Israel showed in the first fight are still going to be there. I don't think the gap is going to be as wide. I think the only time we've ever seen Israel have any real trouble at middleweight is when Gastelum came after him for the first 3 rounds, was incredibly aggressive, didn't dance around, and kind of took a straight boxing/kickboxing approach to him.
And Kelvin took ridiculous punishment.
He took ridiculous punishment, and he ran out after 5 rounds.
Right.
So the reason I bring that up is I just don't see Robert Whitaker being a guy who consistently puts Israel on his back foot. Rob's a big bounce in, bounce out, side-to-side guy, and likes to fight kind of, sometimes moving backwards in essence. I just don't know over time if that's going to make Israel uncomfortable enough. So because of that reason, I think I still favor Israel, but I think the gap has, gotten smaller, and Whitaker has shown a few new wrinkles, but not enough, in my opinion, to make you believe he's going to march down Israel and stamp him out or anything.
Okay, I think that's fair. So at this point, are we ready to move on to the UFC Fight Night preview and picks?
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gents, it's the UFC Vegas 34 Cannonier versus Gastelum preview and picks. So, Fight Geek, I'm going to be honest. The card isn't exactly necessarily the most, stacked. But we're going to start with the first fight of the main card.
There's not a lot of huge names, but I think there's going to be some good action.
We got to cover. I need your prediction on Alexander Pantoja versus Brandon Royvel.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. I mean, talk about a pick 'em fight. Both guys, I actually love both fighters. Pantoja's the easy pick. Brandon Royval is so, unpredictable, though. That guy has thrown some stuff out in his first few fights that is very rare. For that reason, I think he's going to be, I think he'll be, have enough variety to do something spectacular. I'm struggling for my words here, but yeah, Brandon Royval is who I'm taking for his unpredictability. Pantoja's kind of a straightforward guy. I think he could get pulled into a wild fight, and I think that could favor Royval.
I've got Pantoja via unanimous decision.
Nice.
All right, moving on. Do we just want to move to let's just move to the co-main event. We've got Clay Guida versus the undefeated 10-0 Marco Madsen.
Yeah, that's a tough one for Clay Guida. At his advanced age, a guy like Marco Madsen, who's looked really good, is going to be dominant in one area. I'm taking Marco Madsen via unanimous decision.
And I am taking Marco Madsen via submission, second round.
Okay, I can see that as well. I think Clay's tough, but that's a tough matchup for him for sure. What about Vince Pichelle versus Austin Hubbard? What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, I think it's an okay fight. Should I be more excited than I am, Fight Geek? I'm not crazy. Who should I be excited for out of these two? Tell me why I should be more. I'm not that excited. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Really? Well, I mean, I think Austin Hubbard has shown, he's a big, strong guy for the division, athletic. He's got a couple decent
So Austin's
wins.
the guy to watch in this fight.
Yeah, no, I'm actually just making a case for him. I think Vince Pichelle, if I'm saying that right, is actually the guy to watch. He's been very impressive in his action. He just doesn't fight enough. He's got wins over Jim Miller. He had the big win over Roosevelt Roberts. His only real loss in a while is versus Gregor Gillespie as he was kind of climbing the ranks. So I like Pichelle here, but I think that it's going to come against sturdy opposition in Hubbard. And I think this is, potential fight of the night, or Hubbard fight of the night potential. So I don't know, just one that caught my eye.
So who you got?
Vince Pichelle.
Okay. I got Vince Pichelle as well, and I didn't mean to rhyme
Did
that.
I do a bad job selling that one? Sorry.
Okay. I got him by unanimous decision. Really quick, I'm looking at that card. Trevin Jones, 13-6. He had one of the most amazing comebacks in UFC history last year, and then had it unfortunately changed to a no contest via some horrible marijuana decision. He's taking on Sadykhub Karamanov, 8-2, bantamweight from the U.S. Midwest. That should be a fun, crazy little fight.
Yeah, that's a tough matchup to call as well. I think the Kelleher fight should be interesting versus Domingo Pilarte. You got a pick there?
I got Kelleher via third-round stoppage.
I think Domingo Pilarte has a significant size advantage. He's 6 foot tall, 74-inch reach. I'm going to take Pilarte in this one.
All right. Okay, so I think it's time to move on to the main event. Jared Cannonier versus Kelvin Gastelum in a 5-round main event. This is a fun one, Fight Geek. This is a fun one.
Yeah, it's a big crossroads fight for a guy like Kelvin Gastelum.
Ooh, this is so big for Kelvin. Like, I feel like he can't lose.
What's insane is that he's only 29, so it's probably not in the long run. He's a guy like, Jose Aldo, who is going to be like, feel like he's been around forever, and you look down and he's not even 30. So he does have that going for him, but he's, 1-4 in his last 5. It's been a rough go of it, but Kelvin still is Kelvin. He's going to come in tough. He's going to have his good, powerful boxing. So he's going to be live, but it's just hard to pick him on the heels of these past 5 performances. I know Jared Cannonier is coming off the Whitaker loss, but I think he was showing quite a bit at middleweight prior to that. So I'm going to take Jared Cannonier by decision here.
I'm going to take Kelvin Gastelum by decision.
Wow. It's going to be a tough one.
Woo!
It really is.
The disrespect.
Well, I don't know. Is that disrespect? He's 1-4 in his last 5. It just
no, I was trying to be like, no, I meant like the disrespect I'm showing to Fight Geek.
No, it's not that disrespectful.
I guess
I wanted to make a case.
I'm trying to be dramatic here, man. We're trying to sell an episode. What are you trying to do here?
Well, they've already been listening.
Okay, that's a good point. All right, fine. Okay, all right. So at this point, guys, we're going to take a really quick break, and then we'll be back with listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 110, here with my brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek, and it is now time for my favorite section of all, and that is Listener questions!
Awesome, I like it.
Thank you. All right, so do you have a listener question to start us off with, Fight Geek?
I don't. I'm pulling him up right now.
Wow, unbelievable. Okay, so I guess we'll go with mine. So this is from Eduardo at Landa Crew. What's up, Eduardo? He says, with UFC 267 being scheduled for an early start time, what are your thoughts on early morning pay-per-views? Do they ruin your average fight day, or do you prefer it as it gives you time to enjoy your Saturday night? Hashtag AskSplitPod.
Great question. And I don't prefer it personally. I guess it depends on when it kicks off. I don't prefer it. I prefer the card to kick off, at 3 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon, run into the, early or to the mid to late evening.
Yeah. I think, guys, that this is a bit of a sort of, old married man answer that Fight Geek's giving, kind of a nerdy answer.
Is it nerdy? I don't know.
I personally do prefer to definitely know ahead of time if it's early morning. And look, I'm all for the early morning if I can plan for it, really ahead of time. But to be honest, I'm often unaware until several days before. At that point, it doesn't really matter. The plans are already set in stone, and but no, it can definitely help. Truth is, part of the nice thing about living on the west coast of the United States is that main events usually start at 7 p.m. and they're over by 10, which is a little late, but it's early enough to still go out for the evening. Whereas if I lived on, say, the East Coast in New York, instead of 10 p.m. when the event ends, it would be 1 a.m. and then the night's really over, right? So
I guess I'm showing my West Coast bias there then.
Yeah, I mean, we both are, but in any case,
it's nice to be done by 3 to 10 p.m. is a nice window. You have some beers and some barbecue, watch some fights. It's pretty much my life.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so our next question comes from the man, Zan Bando 99, and hold on one second.
Bellator 265.
Oh wait.
And
Okay. And here is Zan Bando's question.
Hey Phil. Hey Fight Geek. Zan Bando here. Congrats on coming back, guys. Good to see you guys back. I have 2 questions for this episode this week. My first question for you guys is, rank for me the 3 cards that are taking place this weekend. UFC Vegas 34, Bellator 265, and the Professional Fighters in Playoffs Week 2. Rank them for me in terms of excitement value, 1 to 3 for each of you. And my second question for you guys this week is, who has more to lose this weekend, Jared Cannonier or Kelvin Gastelum? Love the show, guys. Appreciate the support of my work as well. And I look forward to listening to the episode. Thanks, guys. Hey, Phil. Hey, Fight Geek.
Why is it running again?
Here.
I'm the worst producer ever. Thank you, Zan. That was an awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Zan. Sorry for my horrendous producing. I'm such a bad producer. Great questions from Zan. First and foremost, let me just go ahead and tackle the order of the shows. I'm going to put PFL dead last. All I know is it's Kayla Harrison versus some giant chick. Take that as you will. Call me a casual, no problemo. Kayla Harrison versus some giant chick is going to be last place for me. Bellator 265 coming in second to last place. Not super excited about that. Not horrified either, but, it's okay. And then coming in first place, UFC Vegas 34, Cannonier versus Gastelum. Who has more to lose, Cannonier or Gastelum? Definitely, I think, Zan, the answer is Kelvin Gastelum. Again, he's 1-4 in his last 5, and it's hard to see where he goes from here if he loses on Saturday night. Great question, Zan. Thank you. Fight Geek, take us away. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there. I mean, I think I'm a little more excited for, Kayla Harrison's fight this weekend than you are, but Bellator's a clear number 2 for me. Even Czech Congo versus Sergey Karatanov, I'm down to watch that. J.J. Wilson versus Adam Boric is a great fight. Logan Storley's worth tuning in for. Bellator is very Bellator-ish this weekend, which is good enough for me. I'll tune in for the Kayla Harrison fight, and I think the Kelvin Gastelum fight is by far the most intriguing fight of the weekend, as well as, you get a Hall of Famer in Clay Guida. So, I think UFC is number 1 as well. So, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so our next question, it's not a question, rather it's an amazing shout-out tweet from our one of our OGs, our Split Podcast OGs from day one, truly, Paul O'Kelly from Ireland at Sparks F1. For those who don't know it, he's one of the greatest Super Mario Kart players in the world. He's been beating records left, right, and sideways lately, and he texted us an amazing photo. Did you see this photo, Fight Geek? Of him holding the Irish flag?
I did. I'm looking at it now.
He's holding the Irish flag, and he's got a shirt on that's Irish colors, and then a flag but it's like Luigi's face. It's so cool. It's so cool. I'm not explaining it well enough. It's cooler than I'm making it sound. But he says, Okay, wait, I can't do an Irish accent.
First of all, it's not Luigi. It's an M on his hat, which means it's Mario. So
Oh, you're so
slow
right,
down,
dude.
Phil.
But it
Just
was
slow
green.
down.
It's all green. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right.
It's Mario, as in like Mario Kart.
Eighth today in the first day of 4 days of Super Mario Kart competition, above and beyond expectations. Thankfully, I will be back before this weekend's fights. All right, Paul, please listen back. Let me know how I did. I went too high in the beginning. I went way too high in the beginning.
I genuinely enjoyed that. I hope Paul did too.
Okay. Paul is the man, by the way, everyone.
Agreed.
Moving on. MMA by Milliken. Love this guy. He says, I think Bobby Knuckles would beat the hell out of Connor. What do you guys think? Second, should Yolanda Jacek be removed from the rankings due to inactivity? Hashtag AskSplitPod. Good question.
I mean, I don't, I think that all the Connor versus talk on MMA Twitter just shows, the new out of touch generation of fans. I mean, people that think Connor stands any kind of chance versus Robert Whittaker are just out of their mind, I think. I mean, come on.
I know Milliken. I think he's hazing us or something.
No, I think he is too. No, I'm
Milliken, you can't be serious. Milliken, what do you mean you think Bobby? Of course, Bobby Knuckles would execute McGregor. What kind of talk is this?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What are you talking about, bro?
I mean, yeah, DC. I mean, we're basically. Conor McGregor needs to worry about the guys in his weight class. He's having a hard time with those ones. So
what did you think of him? On that note, what did you think of him calling out? Wait, what did you think of him calling out DC? That was embarrassing.
I mean, I mean, I'm no expert, but he seems to be spiraling.
Did you see what DC said at the end? He said, "Keep that same energy when I see you next." I'm like, oh my god.
I mean, that's all fun and games.
Connor's gonna die, bro. Like, what?
Yeah, but they're not gonna get into it. Come on, Connor has a broken leg.
Yeah, but he's such a clown. He's such a clown for talking shit to someone he'd never fight. What a clown.
Well, he was a clown for mentioning another fighter's wife and religion,
yeah, that's true.
All that other stuff previously. So it's nothing new for Connor. Everybody else is kind of having a laugh at his expense, but it's not like DC is going to be able to rough him up. I mean, the number one asset for the UFC has a broken leg, and the last thing they're going to have is one of their employees putting that in any sort of danger.
I'm just saying, I'm not sure Connor gained too many new fans with his brave
call-outs. No, clearly not.
I
mean, I think Connor's losing fans if you were to...
Oh, he's hemorrhaging them.
Yeah, take a census. So, I mean, it is what it is at this point,
I don't think he's merely losing them. I think he's hemorrhaging them.
I mean, today, and things change quick in the sport, but today it's really hard for me to envision him ever winning again.
I believe I wrote something earlier. I don't see him winning.
Look at that top 10, and we can just hop into that since we got time.
Okay, yeah, so I wrote, I don't think he beats anyone in the top 10. Do you think that's crazy?
I disagree. I still think he's, much faster and more explosive than a Dan Hooker who gets hit a lot. I think Connor can still beat Dan Hooker.
But Hooker's very durable. Is he going to put Hooker away? Because if not...
But is he very durable? He just got one shot knocked out in 30 seconds.
Yeah, you're right. That was a horrendous loss. You're right.
Yeah, and that was on the heels of taking a few horrific beatings. So, I mean, I think that Dan Hooker might be ripe for the pickings. I'm not, it is what it is. He got knocked out his last fight. He's a little bit of a lumbering guy, and I think Connor still, even in his Dustin fights, showed that he's snappy with his in-and-out shots. He can land heavy shots, and he's still lightning fast. So he can present a problem for a guy like that.
What'd you think of my idea? You wait until McGregor's healthy, which is like a year or more, and then you make McGregor-Ferguson 5-round pay-per-view.
I mean, that is an interesting fight, and that's one I think that Connor would be live in as well. I mean,
but he could also lose. Like, I think it's a good fight.
Oh, he could certainly lose, but Tony has looked like he's been swimming in mud the last 3 fights.
I mean, McGregor's looked horrendous. I think that's why it's fun.
But Connor, in spurts, has looked explosive and has looked powerful and has looked like himself, even if it's for 12 seconds at a time or 20 seconds or 30 seconds at a time. Tony hasn't looked like Tony in a long time. And that's a segue into something like how Rory McDonald looked this past weekend. once you have that many miles, I don't know that you can necessarily get back that snap.
Let's be honest about Rory McDonald here, Fight Geek. We both know. We both saw UFC 189 live, and we saw it when it was happening. And look, you don't recall. You leave a piece of yourself in there with that Lawler 2 fight. You leave a piece of yourself there.
100%. A lot of fighters make the claim that they're willing to die in there, and I'm sure they are. They have to be a certain type of person to do that.
I don't think McDonald's been the same since.
Well, Rory tried it that night. He went for it. His body physically shut down before his will to win the title did. So yeah, I agree. Yeah. And even to this day, I would say that Rory McDonald is one of the top 5 most technical welterweights walking the earth. But the fight seems to have been taken out of him over the years. Even that first Douglas Lima fight, I'm sure he's got lifelong damage to his leg from that fight. If I'm not mistaken, he said he was praying through the later rounds to make it through. So Rory had the ultimate dog in him, and like Tony, who has that ultimate dog in him, you're gonna have to absolutely beat it out of him. He just hasn't shown enough life lately. So not to go on this long diatribe, but I think Conor would certainly, barring a healthy recovery, still be snappy enough and quick enough at what is he going to be, 32, 33?
I believe he's going to be. I believe he's 33. I think.
Right. So, I still think Conor could win a couple name fights in the top 10. If I'm being honest, But is he going to take those fights? I think Conor McGregor thinks that he can come and fight Kamaru Usman next fight. So
his tweets are saying he's fighting Usman, or he's going to march he's just going to march into a lightweight title fight. And that's why I think when you say he's not going to win again, that's why I think you're honestly being, you're being honest and correct. Because it's that kind of delusion. It's that kind of delusion that will sort of seal his fate.
Yeah, and then probably force him into celebrity boxing matches. That's what I think is going to happen at this point. But
not only is he going to get knocked out by Jake Paul. Well, I don't even want to say any of that. Never mind. I don't even want.
He should be able to retain the boxing. The one thing Conor does have is he has great hands. That's never been in question, even through the ups and downs. Even when he lost to Diaz, he was piecing him up. Even in these losses to Poirier, he was striking in some of the exchanges in a way that compromised, Poirier. So it's not like he's not. People act like he's not a threat. He's still a threat, but it's an up-road battle.
Yeah. Okay, so in any case, part 2 of that question real fast from MMA by Milliken. Should Yolanda Jacek be removed from the rankings due to inactivity? And for the record, she's ranked number 2.
Never.
Yeah, I say no.
Yolanda should be ranked until the day she retires.
Honestly, Fight Geek's kind of joking around, I think, or being funny, but I agree with him. I think that Yolanda.
I'm being, facetious.
Yeah, you're being facetious, but Yolanda has earned a lot of that.
But I believe that. She's
earned a lot of it.
That
she doesn't need to be moved. Let's all stop with the drama. Who's upset about it? Mackenzie Dern, you know what?
Well, not only that,
Mackenzie.
But she had a fight of the century with the previous champion.
Right, and people say that was a long time ago, and it's just chill out.
Yeah, she took substantial damage to her head and, facial area.
And she almost won, so she did great. So it's not.
Yeah. So based on the fact that she almost won and she gave you the female fight of the century, let her stay. If you want to drop her to 4,
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine.
Yeah, let's have her hang out. Conor McGregor hung out in the 4 spot at lightweight for 3 years, didn't he? So
I think longer than that. Yeah.
So that's a good comparison. Let's toss Joanna at number 4 and just let her live there forever until she proves otherwise.
All right, I agree. And now, our next question comes from Juice from the Friendly Sparring Podcast. That's at Friendly Spar Pod. And his question is this.
What's up, everybody? This is Juice from the Friendly Sparring Podcast. My question for you this week is simple. Phil, Fight Geek, you are both scheduled to fight each other in a bully beatdown style fight. What I mean by that is, if you never saw that show, they would do one 5-minute round of grappling, one 5-minute round of kickboxing. Who wins the grappling and who wins the kickboxing?
You are so fucked.
First of all, are you even old enough to have seen that show?
Yes, Ah ha ha. Barely, because it's true. I'm younger and prettier than you.
First of all,
First of all, I just got promoted. Let's talk about my BJJ belt promotion at Gracie Bar Jiu-Jitsu.
That's impressive, man.
Thank you. So I would wait. What would you do? I would totally win, man, because you're a boxer, but I did Muay Thai, and now I'm doing Jiu-Jitsu.
I've taken some Jiu-Jitsu classes, and I'm pretty slithery.
You haven't been rolling like me like lately. Like I just got my belt promotion.
I'm out of shape lately. So are we taking our primes or are we taking today?
No, what do you mean? Our primes? What is this, a McGregor thing? No, we're doing now.
I say I still take 3 of the 5 striking rounds. You probably
No, you don't. No way.
Yes, I do. I'm so much more quick. I'm much quicker.
What are you talking? You're a boxer. I was doing Muay Thai.
I'm a runner.
All right.
And I question your cardio. I think I can.
Oh, dude, that's messed up. I ate that bagel in front of you one time, and I told you not to tell anyone about that. That's wow.
About what? Your horrible cardio?
We had a promise about that bagel.
So I'm saying I take 3 of 5 kick or striking. You take 4 or 5 grappling.
Don't I win that on average on the map?
Unfortunately, but I'm much older than you, so.
Well, that's for sure. Just kidding. No, honestly, I'm kind of old too. Okay.
Hang on while you can.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, wait. That was a fun question. God, Juice.
Yeah, great question, Juice.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out Jason Mayhem Miller. That was one of the great MMA shows of all time, in my opinion, if not, the best mainstream one.
It truly was. Okay. All right. Question from our man Jalen Ware. That's at strive2b_GR8. So strive to be great. What was your best Clay Guida fight, win or lose, and what was he missing to have never challenged for a belt or even a #1 contender fight? #AskSplitPod. Wow, what a fun one.
Wanted to interject there because he definitely got to a #1 contender fight. He fought Benson Henderson after beating Anthony Pettis. If he would have won that fight, it was a title eliminator. I believe he would have fought Frankie Edgar for the belt.
He lost to Benson Henderson, though.
Yeah, in a #1 contender fight.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was a title eliminator.
On UFC on Fox 1, yeah.
Yeah, so he definitely got to that point. And honestly, the only thing that I think kept Clay Guida from being a UFC champion was actually just coming over a little sooner. He was kind of at his best around the time Sean Shirk was the champion, and I think Clay Guida at 24, 25 years old probably would have given Sean Shirk a lot of problems with his gas tank and his wrestling. So I think just timing.
Yeah, man, that is interesting. It's real hard to argue that stuff when you hear it, frankly.
Sure. I mean, I think Clay Guida would have been, at that time would have clearly been BJ Penn's biggest competition at 155, considering, BJ was beating guys like Joe Stevenson, Kenny Florian, and Diego Sanchez, who all in time kind of showed to be, 145ers. So I think Clay Guida's wrestling, and pace could have given, BJ, who notoriously didn't have the deepest gas tank. I was mostly exposed at like 170, but definitely would have been an interesting opponent and probably the best opponent of BJ's career if that would have happened early.
Okay, so real quick, just playing devil's advocate, let's talk about this moment. January 31st, 2009, he wins a split decision over Nate Diaz at UFC 94, St. Pierre versus Penn 2. Then, after that, gets a scheduled fight for June 20th, 2009 against Diego Sanchez at the Ultimate Fighter 9 finale. Loses a very famous split decision. As you know, that Diego Sanchez-Clay Guida fight's quite famous. I would argue...
It's in the UFC Hall of Fame.
It is in the UFC Hall of Fame. Was that a moment where he also lost a #1 contender's bout?
Potentially, I guess you'd have to look at Diego's fight.
Okay, so I guess Diego didn't all right, well look, I guess Diego didn't get a title shot immediately after that. But in any case, that was, I guess what I'm trying to say is that was a very key moment. He was in the mix
for a long time and maybe just a fight away.
Oh wait, no, I'm so sorry for misspeaking. I'm so sorry. I believe after that, I'm seeing that he lost to BJ Penn
Yep. So technically, that was probably another number one contender fight because Diego did go on to fight BJ Penn next.
at
So.
UFC 107, Penn versus Sanchez. So I guess I'm insane. It was a number one
Yep.
contender fight. So those were two. Oh, I was right. So those were 2 times.
Yep. So he was right there. Yeah, maybe just kind of before BJ really got motivated and became champion again. If he could have, fought Sean Sherk, that would have probably been his best path to doing that. Because as most people remember, BJ Penn destroyed Sean Sherk. They were kind of like the next generation of lightweights that were coming up. Sean Sherk was a little bit of an OG.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so final question, at least that I've got here, is from Cyrus Picasso Khan at Cyrus King. Cyrus is the man, guys. Give him a follow. He says, who does Justin Gaethje match up better with, Charles Oliveira or Dustin Poirier? Out of all three, who do you think the UFC wants to have the belt? Assume Dustin because that sets up another Conor rematch for the belt. What do y'all think? Just realized I asked 3 questions. I love it. I love it, Cyrus. So what do you think? Out of Charles, Dustin, and Gaethje, who's the UFC want to have the belt?
Well, they definitely want Dustin to. Dustin's become, let's say a B-level celebrity and has 2 wins over Conor McGregor, which gives him big-time credibility to, the ESPN generation of fans. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I think the UFC would love for Dustin Poirier to be that guy. He's a great champion. He's got a good cause. He's well-spoken. And, again, he has wins and the credibility to be that guy. So that's who I think. What was the second part of the question about matchups?
But no, I mean you kind of answered. Who do you think the UFC wants, and then I guess who do you favor? Who do you think gets the best? Who's going to end up with the belt out of those 3 when all's said and done? Aside from what the UFC wants.
I mean, I still feel like it's Dustin. I guess, I just listened to Dustin on the Helwani show. He says he hasn't been formally offered, the Nate fight or a title fight. So I'm sure that will happen soon. And depending on that, we'll go from there. But, I actually think that, Charles Oliveira matches up better against Dustin than he might against Gaethje. But, that's yet to be seen. Gaethje's a very hard-charging guy. When we've seen Charles in trouble in the past, and even in the Chandler fight, it was from, heavy impact, hard charging guy. And I think Dustin's a little more methodical, so that may be a little more of a stalemate at first. I think that Charles is more uncomfortable early versus a guy like Gaethje.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. I think as was mentioned, I don't know if you saw, but Justin Gaethje predicted that he's going to knock out Michael Chandler, and then he predicts that Poirier will make easy work of Charles Oliveira, and basically made a prediction for a really big rematch showdown with Dustin Poirier for the belt. Poirier versus Gaethje 2 fight.
That's Rocky stuff, man.
That would be, by the way, I mean, that would be so great. Oh my gosh, right?
And then, yeah, but Gaethje's got to do it. He's been out for a while. He's based on all the reports, been out a long time.
Oh, I think he can. Oh, he's got less trouble in front of him than Dustin does.
You think so? I mean, one thing Chandler does is he hits real hard, and Gaethje is not afraid to oblige in that sense. And I think Chandler hits hard enough to get most guys out of there. So.
Oh, I don't think Gaethje is exactly a pillow puncher himself.
No, he's not. But yeah, that's going to be dynamite. I think obviously everyone's super pumped about that fight. I am too. It's obviously razor thin because both guys are just so violent and come forward. So leaning Gaethje with those leg kicks we've seen. Chandler have huge problems with the nerves in his legs in fights before, and Gaethje will kick your leg right off. So that's my early thoughts.
Yep. Totally agree. Okay, do we have any extra questions, or is that it?
I'm going through them right now. Appreciate all the questions tonight. They were all great. Can't do the show without you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yup.
But I think that's it.
Okay, before I hand it over to Fight Geek, real quick, guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you could hop over to the Apple iTunes podcast app and give us a quick 5-star review, boy, it would make a huge difference. I saw 2 people do that over the weekend. Thank you both. I want to give them shout-outs, but I don't have my phone on me, so I can't. That's pretty lame. I guess I'll do it next episode. Or I can shout out people that do it this week, and that would be even better. But Fight Geek, take us away.
All right, guys. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We are at Split_podcast. It's 4 words. The Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.